Hey, what's going on guys? Today we're going to be providing all beginners to Elden Ring with the best samurai build that you can possibly start with, which will help you progress and make you feel extremely overpowered as early on as possible. We're going to be showing the items you need to create the build, and more importantly where to find them, as I honestly know how lost you can be at the start of the game, so hopefully this guide helps. If it does help you out, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss future uploads bringing you the best builds right now for both beginners and more advanced builds. The Bloodflame samurai build is focusing specifically on using katanas along with some faith incantations to increase our damage and to stack blood loss as quickly as possible to give us that huge drop in the boss's health bar. So without further ado, let's get into a new game and build our samurai. Your starting class will of course be the samurai, and you're going to want to take the stone sword key as the keepsake. It'll be made clear why later on. The samurai class will give us the Uchigatana weapon, which is amazing to start with and probably the best starting weapon you can get. But as we progress through, we are going to want a slightly upgraded version of this called the Nagakiba. The main difference being the extreme increase in range, which the Nagakiba will give us, and also the increase in damage, and is well regarded as one of the best dexterity weapons to use in the base game, which can carry you through the majority of it. However, to obtain this weapon, there are a few steps we'll have to do before this. So to start, when entering Limgrave, we're going to want to of course first grab our mount, which will allow us to traverse the land between a lot easier, so I would follow the path shown on screen. And now that we have our mount, we are ready to go and collect our first item, which is our first talisman. We're going to head over to the area shown here on the map, just past Summon Water Village. Once we have reached the location, you will have to insert a stone sword key to enter, and this is why we have taken this as our keepsake. Upon entering, you will pick up the green turtle talisman, which will boost our stamina recovery speed, and this is very needed with this build as we're going to do multiple attacks in quick succession. So next up, we're going to want to keep following the path shown here into Caelid, where we're going to approach Fort Gale and follow the path on screen to find our buff for the build, which is going to be Flame Grant Me Strength. This will provide us with increased physical and fire damage. Staying on the same path, we're going to follow the route down through Caelid to reach our next item, which is going to be the double slash Ash of War. This can be found on a scarab in the Celia Town of Sorcery, shown here on the map. If you follow the path shown, you'll be able to shoot the scarab with the starting bow from our samurai class, and the Ash of War will drop for you. Next up, we're going to want to head over to Fort Height, shown here on the map. For help, I would use the path shown on screen to get there. I would first fast travel back to the Gatefront Ruins, and from here, we're going to want to follow the path on screen. Now that we're here, we're going to want to clear the fort and eventually face this knight, who will be holding our first Ash of War, the Bloody Slash. Upon defeating this knight, he will drop the Ash of War, which will soon apply to our katana. This will add a vital bleed element to our weapon, allowing for huge drops in enemy health bars when enough bleed is applied to them. Now it's time for us to head to the round table hold and purchase one more item, which is the finger seal, which will allow us to cast our incantations. We will then head over to the blacksmith in order for us to add the Ash of War to our katana, which we're going to want to select the bleed affinity. Now, in order for us to use these incantations and use the Nagakiba weapon, we're going to have to increase our stats to the minimum requirements needed for these. The fastest and easiest way to obtain these runes is to kill the sleeping dragon in Caelid, which can be found here on the map. If you follow the path on screen, you'll be able to reach this. The next step is to simply start hacking away at the dragon until he dies. This will take a long time, but by now our weapon will have bleed on it, and we'll be able to take him down a lot quicker with the bleed procs. Once you've defeated him, you should add the runes needed to make the following stat increases. For strength, we're going to need to raise this to 18, and dexterity will need to go to 22. This will give us the necessary stats in order for us to use the Nagakiba weapon. We will then want to push our faith stat to 15 in order to give us enough to use our Flame Grant Me Strength incantation. Any leftover runes will have to go towards Vigor to increase our health, and eventually into Arcane, as you'll need this stat at 10 to use our next incantation. And finally, we are now ready to take on the samurai which has the Nagakiba weapon, Yuri. He can be found here on the map, and upon killing him, he will drop the weapon we desire. He is pretty hard to kill, and this is exactly why we've obtained the necessary items before facing him, as the Bloody Slash Ash of War will help out a lot here. Just know that if we do kill Yuri here at this point, then we will be locked out of his questline later, but if you do want to have maximum damage at this time of the game, I would recommend killing him here. Now that we have the weapon needed, we just need one of the final pieces of the build, which is the Bloodflame incantation, which will add bleed to our Nagakiba and coat the weapon in Bloodflame. For this, however, we will have to take a secret route into the next area of the game, and if you start at the Stormhill Shack just up from where we started at the Gatefront Ruins, you will just have to follow this long old route. And right guys, now that we're here, we're going to have to take out the scarab which is holding the incantation. And it's going to be the one on the north side of the church, as you can see in the video here. Now that our build is nearly finished, there is one more talisman which would benefit us here, which is the Radagon Scar Seal, which will give us a boost to important stats for the build. This can be found back at 4th Faroth, which can be fast travelled back to, as you can see in the video, and this is how we get the talisman. You can either use this or the green turtle talisman until we're able to get an additional talisman slot. And the final step now is to go back to the blacksmith and add the double slash Ash of War onto your new katana. From here onwards, you will now have a very overpowered samurai build very early on in Elden Ring, which should make it a lot easier for you to travel and explore the lands between. From this point, I would advise to keep leveling your dexterity, arcane and strength stat to increase your damage going forward, and you should make light work of the first boss, Margit. I really hope this video has helped you out, and if it has, please be sure to hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for future Elden Ring and RPG content. If you have any other builds which you would like me to potentially make in the future, please let me know in the comments, but I hope this at least helps out a few new starters in Elden Ring, and hopefully you'll get on your journey. Catch you in the next one, fellas.